Facebook plans to help you figure out if you liked or followed pages created by a Russian company with ties to the Kremlin. That's according to a statement from Facebook. U.S. intel officials say the Russians used social media to try to influence the U.S. election last year. But our corporate cousin, the Wall Street Journal, reports Facebook's notifications will not reach more than 100 million people who came across the page's ads and posts. A Facebook spokesman told the Journal it cannot identify everyone who may have seen the Russian propaganda. Let's bring in Jonathan Easley. He's a reporter who's covered the Russia probe for the Hill newspaper. Good to see you, Jonathan.
Hi, Ed.
So what is the point of Facebook doing this? Is this more sort of cover your backside than actually getting to the people who need to find out whether they like these posts?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head right there. I mean, this is kind of just a very small first step they can take to address this very big problem. I mean, lawmakers on Capitol Hill are eager to get to the bottom of how extensive Russian firms were using these tech giants and their social media platforms to peddle misinformation and what impact that might have had on the election. Like you said, this isn't going to touch all of the more than tens of millions of people that might have come in contact with some of this information. And also, it's a reactive strategy. It's not going to keep people from coming into contact with that information going forward. Basically, it's there to educate people, to let them know, hey, you might have come into contact with this. Now, if you're a Democrat and you go and you see that you came into contact with that, well, I mean, you're probably already certain that that the Russians meddled and helped Trump defeat Hillary Clinton. If you're a Republican, you're likely to say, well, look, this information didn't, it was just one piece of information out of a lot of news that I consumed over the course of the election, and it didn't impact my vote or anything like that. So a very small first step, but I think we're going to see more moves like this by the tech giants to address this issue of how the Russians might have used their platforms.
So what's the takeaway for our viewers? If you're a Facebook user, what is the tool they've created so you can figure out whether or not this Russian propaganda touched you?
Yeah, well, it's not available yet, but what's going to happen is you'll get a notification and you'll go to a web page, and Facebook will say, we tracked your activity. You came into contact with this story or this information or this advertisement, and we've since found out that this was put out there by a Russian firm that was interested in sowing chaos in the political system. So essentially, it's just a signal, a way to sort of educate users to be careful about what kind of information they come across on their own platforms, which have become essentially massive news organizations. I mean, Facebook and Google have a lot of say on what stories people see, and they have become major news platforms themselves. So it's a big issue.
Jonathan, I've got 30 seconds, but it seems to me the bigger issue as well is, you cover the Hill as well as anyone, that the real issue is big picture, that the tech companies have had relatively little regulation, and it seems like Congress, both Democrats and Republicans, want that to end.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that was just sort of oozing off of Capitol Hill when the lawyers for these tech giants went up there to testify before Congress. I mean, there's a big push right now to hold these tech giants accountable and to make sure that they know who's publishing what on their platforms.
Jonathan Easley from the Hill, thanks for coming in.
Thanks.